welcome to another episode of PsycKicks. My name is Liv, and welcome to the podcast where we talk about all things paranormal, spiritual, metaphysical, and everything in between. As a psychic medium, I'm here to guide you through it. I don't know everything. I've just been doing professional readings for 4 years. I've been a psychic medium since I was little, and my gifts have changed and evolved into being able to understand that I'm a mental medium, pet psychic, and I don't know. I'm a psychic medium, so I talk to animals. I can talk to plants. If you're new to this and you're like, wow, that's crazy. I freaking thought the same thing, my guy. I'm not joking. I knew that I could talk to dead people from like a recently young age. I used to perceive them. So I think that's a little more psychic when I was a child, so like 8. And then it wasn't until I was like 14, 15, 16, maybe 12 to 14, more like 14, 15, 16, that I actually started to understand that I was a medium. That eventually evolved into understanding that I could, I don't know, maybe I just like gained the ability to communicate with animals, like understand what they were thinking and like receive that sort of information. And then that also turned into plants. So actually plants came first before animals. I forgot about that. We're thinking about past Olivia and all a lot right now. Anyways, so yeah. Well, that is the stuff that we talk about here on this podcast. And today I'm going to be talking about, I think I want to call it the do's and don'ts of paranormal investigating. I don't know if I already used that, but we did Em and I had a podcast where we talked to the fabulous human being that runs PIOT Paranormal. I can't remember his name, which is so bad. I should look it up. But anyways, it was a long time ago. We collaborated with them because he is a paranormal investigator, as you know, PIOT Paranormal. And we'd never gone on a paranormal investigation before. But since that podcast, we've gone on a lot of paranormal investigations. So it's just interesting to think back, like, we talked to this lovely human being. They told us about their ideas of paranormal investigation and like the things that they did as an investigator. And I don't know, it's just cool, like, to see how we've grown since then. And now we do paranormal investigations. We've been to the Conjuring House, the Bel Air House, the Wilson Castle, the Madison Seminary, the Fairfield Infirmary. If you're interested in any of those videos, they are on our YouTube channel. There's a link in the description if you'd like to go listen to that, or not listen, but watch those things. They're fun. It's interesting. The Fairfield Infirmary was the scariest one, let's be honest. Well, I think that one was the scariest one for a lot of our investigation team. Like, Anthony was about to pee his pants the whole time when we were upstairs, and like the negative entity in the attic there that just calls itself me was like talking through Russell. It was crazy. But I thought the Madison Seminary was the scariest, but that's just my own personal opinion. But anyways, it's just interesting. That's what we're going to be talking about. As a paranormal investigator and a psychic medium, what I think about paranormal investigation and the do's and don'ts, which is the do's and don'ts, but we'll see. I don't know if I'll title it that. Anyways, let's start with a little bit of a life update because people seem to enjoy that. If you do not like life updates or me talking about like the filler episode material of this, then go on down to the description below if you're listening on the PsycKicks Extras YouTube channel, or down to the show notes if you're listening on like Spotify or Apple Podcast, and there will be timestamps. Just clicky doodle over to the next spot to get into like the nitty gritty of what we're talking about if you don't want to hear about me. But anyways, what is new in my life? Let's see. By the time this podcast comes out, I will be hopefully returning from Chicago soon, like the day this podcast comes out. Hopefully I've touched the bean. I'm manifesting. Let's manifest in this episode. Future Olivia, what have you done? Oak will have turned 9 months old. I really hope that I can try and do like a little celebration or whatever, because I'm going out of town with my husband for his work. And instead of me staying here for 2 weeks by myself with the baby, and he really does. He helps me so much in the evenings, and I've now changed my reading schedule to the evenings. And in order to make podcasts and videos, so like record content for both and edit it, because I edit the videos, I edit the podcasts, all of the content and research and stuff so far, since like, I think March. I do those things in 2 days. My sister-in-law comes over on Mondays, and then my mom comes over on Tuesdays, and that is how I get all of this work done. So it's been hard, but if he's gone, I changed my reading schedules to the evenings because Oak is now old enough that I've never had it. He's my first baby, and I'm the youngest in my entire family, so I've never really dealt with children before. And I had this silly preconceived idea that by this age, Oak would just be playing by himself on the floor quietly with his toys and would be okay with me just being in the same room with him while he plays contently with his toys. Let me tell you guys, if you don't have kids, that is not the case, at least for me. It seems like even when Oak is just playing so lovely on the floor with his toys and he's happy, he's content, he's got a full belly, a clean diaper, clean feet, clean outfit, whatever. There shouldn't be any needs that he needs. As soon as I pull out my laptop to try and like edit a snippet of a podcast or do an email reading or check on a post or answer your comments on YouTube, he just is like, oh, you're not paying attention to me. There's something in between you and me right now, and it's a computer, and I need to look at it and I need to touch it. And even if you just have it closed, I can't function when you're doing this. So I've changed my readings to the evenings. And if Brad's gone for 2 weeks, that's my husband, it's gonna be, I don't have help in the evenings. I only have help during the days on Mondays and Tuesdays. So I'm going out of town with him. It's going to be fun. It's going to be like a mini vacation. I'm still working, obviously. I'll have readings and editing these podcasts and stuff like that. But yeah, it'll be easier because Brad also told me, he said, I don't want to be away from you and Oak for 2 weeks. So that's honestly the biggest reason why I'm going to. He's like, I can't be away from, I don't think Brad and I have ever been away from each other for longer than 3 days. Because when he was an automotive technician for his last company, he would only go for training for 2 to 3 days at a time. So I've never been away from Brad since we've been together for longer than 2 days, I would say. Except for like in the beginning, when we were just first started dating, I would see him like maybe once or twice a week, every other week, something like that. But since we actually made it like official, official guys, we haven't been away from each other for that long. And we're a couple where we don't like that. We like doing things together because he is my best friend and I don't want to be away from him for that long. So yeah, I will travel to Chicago, but we're manifesting. This is going to be the second and last time that we get to go out of town for his training because he's doing like this super skookum advanced training to become a master tech. Because he was already a master tech in a different brand. Now he switched brands and is at a different employer. So they're like, well, you got to be a master tech in this brand. So since he's been doing this for like a decade now, they're like, we're just going to put you through the super fast track training so that you can be a master tech for our brand. So that entails 2 sessions of 2-week training things. So this is the second of those 2 weeks and it'll be the last, but it's been in Chicago. And the last time we went there, we did not go into the actual city because we are country folk. Let me tell you, we do not know how to use a train or travel by a train or a bus really, except for like when you get picked up from school and when you're like in elementary school and the bus takes you somewhere. That's as much bus activity that my husband and I have ever had. And we didn't want to take the car itself, the like rental car that we had, into Chicago because I guess that happened the last time we were there. Someone rear-ended us in Chicago. If you are from Chicago, why are you all driving so crazy? What's wrong with you? This guy, I should say, literally rear-ended us at a light that was red that immediately turned green. And when my husband got out and was like, why did you just rear-end me? That was really rude. He was like, well, the light was green, man. If there's a wall in front of you, are you going to walk through the wall? If the light is green? No, you're going to wait for the wall to open or the door. Like, come on. Anyways, maybe we're just the country folk and, whatever. But, like, come on. I don't understand. So that's why we did not go into the city because we were told that it's absolutely terrible. There's no parking. And if you do find parking, it's super expensive. So someone was like, hey, you should probably take the train. But my husband and I are like, we don't know how to take the train. So I'm hoping that with a 9-month-old, we can celebrate Oak's 9-month birthday because that is super exciting. I can't believe he's almost 9 months old. and we can go to Chicago and touch the bean, because I guess there's this big old just sculpture of a bean. And my husband and I already had a weird conversation about, like, if you were going to have an artistic whatever, why would you just make a giant bean and just drop it in Chicago? I mean, maybe we'll learn that the answer to that question too, but I'm just hoping that we can get to Chicago safely with the baby, using a train, touch the bean, look at the river, maybe eat something really cool, like some deep dish pizza at like a cool Chicago deep dish place, and then make it safely back to our hotel. That is going to be the vacation portion of it that happens on the weekend. And I'm just manifesting now that lovely experience. Okay, so that hopefully will come to fruition. And yeah, cool beans. All right, so what else are we going to talk about? Let's just talk about what I wanted to, which is paranormal investigations. You guys ready? Cool. Let's get into it. So if you want to go on paranormal investigations, what is it that you should do? The first paranormal investigation that I ever went on was actually to a local cemetery. I was driving past this cemetery for so long, and Em and I were trying to figure out like where we should do our first paranormal investigation. And at this point in time, I worked at Starbucks. I had left a really, really, really bad job where I was an office admin for an HR firm. So like they hired people for executive positions. And I found out that the people that I was working for were breaking equal opportunity employment acts, which is illegal, guys. Super not cool. And I don't think the owner of the company, I don't know. I think he knew it was going on, but it was so bad. And one of the coworkers was trying to teach me how to recruit people, and I was giving him really good candidates. And then he was like, well, we can't use that candidate because they are of this race or they're over this age. And I was just like, I have to leave this place. This is not okay. I'm not going to be a part of this. So I left and went to Starbucks and took like a $3 pay cut and was working not as many hours, but also crazy hours. I was working from 5 o'clock in the morning, guys, until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It was crazy. And then recording podcasts and YouTube things. That was like when MetaPsycKicks first started. But anyways, I would drive past this cemetery that was really, 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 really old every morning at like 5 in the morning. And there was like this male presence of the cemetery that would be like, you're going to come here one day. And I was like, I am hallucinating. It's 5 in the morning. I'm exhausted. I've been doing this for so many days straight, and then going over to M's house and recording podcasts in the evenings and then just doing it all over again. It was just, I thought I was hallucinating, but we ended up going there. It was really great. And the reason we did go there is because all of the graves were super, super, super old. I mean, like, guys, these people had passed in the 1800s, like the 1890s. They were like Victorian era people. Not many of them, unless you went into the newer portion of the cemetery, were like they passed in like the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s. But a lot of them were the 1800s. Phoebe was one of my favorites. If you guys want to check out that video, please. It literally is one of my favorite videos that we've ever made. I love it. It's so like, I don't know. It's just, I love it. It is wholesome, I guess, maybe to me. I don't know. But I'll put a link in the description below for you guys to check out that video if you want, the graveyard investigation that we did. There's actually 2 parts because Em and I did it once without paranormal investigation equipment, just as like mediums. And then we did it again with our friends, Russell, Janelle, Anthony, with paranormal investigation equipment. So it was just really fun. So pick a really good location, but most people want to talk about like, should you research a location before you go there? Yes and no. It depends on how you want to go into this situation. If you are medium or you want to test your psychic abilities, I would go without information first. But if you're just a paranormal investigator and you're like, I don't have psychic abilities, I just want to use equipment to get information and answers, that is completely okay too. But I don't know, I implore you maybe to do less research about the place that you're going to first, and then figure out what you can. Because I feel like whether you're a medium or you're using ghost hunting equipment, if you can figure out the history of the place without knowing it with the ghost hunting equipment, that would be a pretty good indicator of that you're actually getting information from souls or spirits using those equipment. So that is my opinion. And if you're going in a team and like you're the medium and then you have other people with you, or you want to test your psychic abilities, have someone else know the research. And then when you get information, either with your own intuition and your own spiritual perceptions, or with the equipment too, because you can use that as well if you're a medium or a psychic. It's always fun. See if the information that you get aligns with what people already know with the research. So it's always fun to go to places with people though too, but that's just because I'm a big scaredy cat. I don't like being in the dark. I have that visceral, just like normal biological fear of like not wanting to be out at night because something could eat me. So I know I talk to dead people for a living, but just the ambiance of it being at night just freaks me out. I'm not about it all the time. I do love the architecture though, and the people that we get to meet, like some of the people that own the haunted places, like the Wilson Castle. The ladies that own the Wilson Castle in Vermont are literally just so freaking cute. It absolutely hurts me. And it's just the people that are also at the Wilson Castle, like the souls themselves are beautiful too. So I would recommend going there if you live in Vermont. They have day tours too, but the people that run that place are just fabulous, and the souls that are there too are also fabulous. So it's just a very like loving, warm, cool place. But anyways, not all the places are like that, like sanitariums and things. That's not as cool and loving. But anyways, research, yes, no, why or why not? Those are my opinions. Now, when it comes to the equipment you can use during a paranormal investigation, have I ever used dowsing rods? Yes. And you're probably not going to guess where I use dowsing rods because it's interesting. I actually used dowsing rods at the Conjuring house, and I thought it was fun. I don't know if we actually put that in the video for when we were doing the investigation for the Conjuring house, because Emily and I think Russell also helped edit those videos when they came out. So I'm not sure if it was in there, but it definitely is BTS that Corey, our tour guide, ended up letting us go into the, what is it? The like gift room. They have like a gift shop area that's off to the one side of the house. It's like one of the newer sections of the house. And I could be wrong. I think they sell dowsing rods, but we didn't actually buy any. He just let us borrow one because I'd never used dowsing rods before and I thought it was nifty. So we used dowsing rods at the Conjuring house, and that was kind of fun. I do feel like it kind of goes into the same idea of like a pendulum though, and a Ouija board of like your movements can influence the signals that you're getting because of like the micro movements or whatever. But it was fun. I think at the Conjuring house, I might have been talking to a little boy and he was moving the dowsing rods, but as a medium, I thought I was talking to a little boy, and then the dowsing rods were moving in affirmation to it. So it was just kind of cool. I don't know. If you want to use things, I would use a pendulum or dowsing rods, not a Ouija board. And I'm only talking about Ouija boards, honestly, guys, in like a funny sort of way, not serious at all. Because one, I'm not a proponent of Ouija boards, because I think there's too much of like a negative connotation with them. And if you're using any sort of divination tool, you cannot have like negative feelings or fear or think that something is scary is going to talk to you through it. Because if that's your thought and your intentions and that's the energy that you're bringing to yourself, that's what's going to be attracted to you. So I would not use those things specifically, but most specifically, the Ouija board is what I mean, because there's just the connotations of it. So also, I have used a Ouija board once. It is the one that I bought for our business for our Ouija board video that Em and I made like a super, super, super long time ago. Our Ouija board's name is Bagel because she's a circle and she's fabulous and beautiful. But dude, I don't think Ouija boards work. I really don't. Like sitting there with your hand on the planchette, it does not move. It doesn't. It took so long and it didn't even go to another number. Like as a medium, I would just rather use my head. I would. I'm a mental medium. I feel like there's no reason to use a Ouija board because it's literally like trying to get blood from a stone, honestly. So there's just so much uproar about them. And I'm like, I don't know. It's such a snoozeville for me. But in addition to me just personally not liking Ouija boards because of the negative connotations people associate with them and therefore the spiritual trouble you could invoke on yourself, and the fact that they're so slow and I think they don't work. But a lot of places actually, when you sign your like waiver that says like, if you fall down the stairs and die, you were not legally responsible. They have other things in there too that say like you can't hold seances of certain calibers and you can't have Ouija boards. Literally, guys, listen. If you go to the Conjuring House, I don't think it says you can't use Ouija boards. Don't quote me on that. I honestly don't remember. I just, if it was in there, I didn't remember reading it in the contract because I don't use a Ouija board anyway, so I don't care. But I do remember in the Bel Air house. We went to the Bel Air house, and in the contract and on signs that are like posted around the house, it says you cannot use a Ouija board at all during your time there. And I just thought that was funny because like, well, I should say the Conjuring House has the blanket of the Ouija board that's like on the couch in the middle of the living room in front of the fireplace. But at the Bel Air house, when they say you can't use Ouija boards for whatever at this place when you're investigating it, when we were there, it was after Halloween. It was probably like, it was cold as shit there. It was so cold. And they did not have the heat turned on when we got there. And when they did turn it on, it was not warm at all. So it was like November, December. It might have even been January. I don't remember. I just know that it was post Halloween because they had Halloween decorations everywhere downstairs in like the living room area or the foyer, I guess, because it wasn't necessarily the living room. But there was so many Ouija boards in that place. So many Ouija boards, guys. There was at least 3, if not 4, on the table, made of blankets, made of props, put up everywhere. And I was like, okay, so you're going to tell us that we can't use a Ouija board to do a seance in here, yet there are so many Ouija boards in here right now that anyone could walk in and be like, I'm going to talk to a demon in this here Ouija board. It just was so funny to me. But yeah, that is what I think about Ouija boards and like those types of things. If you want to bring them to a paranormal investigation, what I'm saying is you can't. But I do think that you can bring dowsing rods and pendulums. It's just I've come across the waivers, liability things that are like no Ouija boards and like no making out in the beds and don't like drink or smoke. That's usually what they entail. But I just thought it was funny. They're like, you can't have a Ouija board in here. And they're like, actually, there's Ouija boards everywhere. Oh, it was so funny. All right. So what else are you going to do when you are conducting a paranormal investigation? You are probably going to want to try and get some EVPs, my people. So EVPs, if you don't know, are electronic voice phenomena. And it basically is just a recording. So like a normal little recorder, you could use your phone. You could use one of the tape recorders that are like old school with the batteries in it, things like that. But you're trying to ask a question. And we're so bad at EVPs when we go on investigations because we have the attention span or the patience of like 0, nil, zip, 0, zilch, nada. So when you do EVPs though, and you have your phone recording audio or you have your tape recorder recording audio, ask the question and then wait at least 20 seconds, 10, minimum 20, a maximum, I would say. We never wait that long at all. It's terrible. And it's just like, they take a lot of patience to go through too. Because I remember asking Em, I'm like, Em, do you want me to go through the EVP footage for the videos? And she's like, no, I don't even care anymore because like, it's just too much for me. And I was like, okay, fine. We won't go through the EVPs, but we also are really bad at doing the EVPs and we don't wait enough time. So it's almost like, even if we caught some, we didn't wait long enough. So it's hard. But if you're clairaudient or you have clairaudient capabilities, you probably would really like EVPs because when I don't usually hear things physically with my clairaudience, which would be like you hearing me right now. I usually hear things in my mind, but when we go to the Conjuring House, I have had the most physical clairaudience there. I don't know why. It's just crazy to me. But if you like or have clairaudience, I'm sure you would like EVPs, and you probably also like the Estes method. So with the Estes method, It's a little bit different than EVPs, but it's kind of similar. So with the Estes method, you're going to use what's known as a spirit box. A spirit box can also double when you buy the devices on like Ghost Stop. That's like a really, really important or like cool website where people buy ghost hunting equipment. But you can also buy these things other places too. But the spirit box is like a tiny little radio, and what happens is it will skip through radio stations, AM, FM, whatever. You can go forwards, you can go backwards, you can turn up the volume, you can change the speed. But what happens is the premise behind the Estes method is it was created in Estes, Colorado by a paranormal investigator. I don't remember his name and his group, but they went to the Estes Hotel, and that is where they developed this technique where you kind of put yourself in a bit of a deprivation environment where you have noise canceling headphones where hopefully the only thing that you can hear is the skipping radio stations, or like it sort of just like surfs the radio stations fast. So it doesn't stop on one for more than like a second or half a second, something like that. You can change the speed, but you put a blindfold on you too, so that you don't have your normal senses. You're a little, like I said, sensory deprived, and all you have is the skipping stations from the spirit box in your headphones. And now what will happen is the people around you will ask questions, and you're not supposed to be able to hear those questions. But what happens is after they ask a question, or I mean, you're not going to know if you have the headphones on that are canceling, or the spirit box turned up all the way. You won't know when they're done asking questions, but they will ask a question, and you, as the person that's doing the Estes method, will shout out or say, I mean, whatever you want. You can be shouting if you want to, the words that you hear. So it's really weird because you will get like me, her, I was, dinner time, yes, no, things like that you'll hear through the skipping of the radio stations, and you just got to go with the ones that you hear. And what happens is your counterparts that are around you should be able to tell you once you're done doing the Estes method and you turn off the spirit box, take off the headphones, off the blindfold. They'll be like, oh yeah, you answered this question. So sometimes when we do the Estes method, for example, we'll talk about the Fairfield Infirmary. The Fairfield Infirmary was scary. We were upstairs in the attic area where they used to have both where the children were for the orphanage, as well as like the very violent and mentally ill individuals just chained up abusively and probably not the best fashion. And there, because of the negative emotions that were given off in that place for so long, there is now this dark entity that it refers to itself as me. So when we kept asking, who are you? What are you doing? Em and Russell, on opposite sides of the attic with the Estes method going on, just kept answering, me, it's me, I'm behind you. And those were the things that they were hearing in the spirit box that was skipping through radio stations. So like I said, it's like if you were to go through radio stations super, super fast, you're not hearing entire sentences. You're just hearing words or sounds or snippets of what is on the radio. And it's said that the souls and spirits around you can pick out the words that they want you to hear and stop the radio station or whatever to get you to get the answers to the questions that the people around you are asking. So that is always a super fun one. And if you're very clairaudient, EVPs and the Estes method is probably something that you would be super, super interested in if you're on a ghost investigation. EVPs that we've caught 2 good EVPs. There was one at the Wilson Castle, which was our first like formal ghost investigation after we did the ghost investigation at the cemetery, where, yeah, this one was kind of scary, but we were in one of the woman of the house's rooms and we were doing a live stream, which was making the energy crazy because I feel like a lot of places aren't very haunted, honestly, but after people make them into attractions as haunted locations, the ideas and perceptions that people have of the haunted location bring certain energy to that location and therefore manifest or attract certain energies and entities as well. So, because we were doing a live stream and there was a couple hundred people watching it while we were at the castle at like 3 a.m, there was the manifestation of this sort of what we call a banshee woman. So a banshee is just like a certain entity that is like the ones that like scream at you. They're very scary. They're usually like a womany presence. And that is something that is 100% like a fear of mine. For whatever reason, I'm much more scared of women than I am of men in certain aspects, at least when it comes to like paranormal things. And you can hear in the video, and Em and I heard this clear as day, my baby. And it was like this hiss growl, and it was absolutely terrifying. That was an EVP because we caught it on the camera, and it literally sounded like there was a woman standing out in the hallway of the room that we were in saying that, and you could feel it like clairsentiently where the entity or the energy was manifesting, and it was absolutely vomitous. Then what's another EVP that we got? We went to the Twin City Opera House in, I think it was Ohio, we went to. And that was actually a really cool place. So they have a basement there. And the cool thing about the Twin City Opera House is I forget the actual town that it's in, but there's 2 towns, which is why they call it the Twin City. And the Twin Cities are separated by a river. And the cool thing about this is people would come to this opera house to perform, and there are underground tunnelways that go throughout the city. And what would happen is in the old days when the Underground Railroad in America was active, so taking slaves from the South and bringing them up to the North to free them during the time of slavery in America, they would use the river to bring slaves up to Ohio, which was almost the North in this point. I think it was in southern Ohio that we were, so it was a little iffy then. But they would bring them up on the river, and then once the slaves got to the river, they would use the underground tunnels underneath the city to get to different places and hide until they could be free and like move more through the Underground Railroad. Well, the Twin City Opera House was used in a part of the Underground Railroad. So we were able to go down in the basement of the opera house itself, and the tunnels are now closed, but performers used to use them. They were used for the Underground Railroad, etc., etc. And it was wild because when we were down there, I felt the presence of a woman who was Black, and she was a very strong presence. And I feel like she would have been someone that would have helped people move along the Underground Railroad and keep people safe. And we didn't hear it when we were investigating, but Russell found it on the EVP of the camera when he was recording. And when we opened the door to the basement, which would have been where like the slaves would have been hiding and trying to get to freedom, you hear on the EVP, "Shut that door." I mean, when I got chills like listening back to it, and I didn't even hear it as like a person, but we caught it as an EVP on the camera. It was crazy. It was so cool. It was so cool because she was like, "Shut that door. You're not supposed to do that. You're gonna let people in here. You're gonna ruin all the secret hush hush coolness that we got down here." And I was just like, my goodness. So that was really, really cool. You guys might like EVPs and the Estes method. The Estes method can be kind of scary though, because if you're at a location and then it's already dark and then you put on a mask so that you can't see, and then the earphones, it's a little freaky. I think I did the Estes method on the bed in the Conjuring house, which was not fun, but it was interesting. So, all right. Next type of things that we've tried Boo Buddy. Boo Buddy is actually this bear that is supposed to be able to, people use it for like children's spirits, I guess, because it's a teddy bear. So they're like, oh, the kid spirits are going to love this crap. Like we're still trying to make things for kids and they're dead too. But anyways, Boo Buddy is supposed to be able to try to communicate with children's spirits, and it detects temperature, and it is supposed to detect certain movements and things. So, like, for example, if the temperature in the room gets cold because the solar spirit is supposedly there, it'll be like, ooh, it's getting cold in here. Or it will try to interact with a child spirit instead of you. So it'll be like, can you finish this song? And it'll clap like, do, 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 do. And the thing is that it's trying to help the child spirit give you more information, I guess, or interact with you by clapping back or singing a song so that you could catch those things on EVP. Boo Buddy is fun, but we didn't use it very much because everyone on our ghost hunting team ended up just like interacting with it instead because we're a whole bunch of ADHD people that are just like hyped up on nerd rope bites and like Red Bull at 3 a.m. So I think Boo Buddy could be fun, but for someone who has more patience for it, because it just cycles through these couple like things that it tries to get information from or interact with any souls or spirits that are around you. But I think you could really do the same thing that Boo Buddy does, just and then you might not interact with yourself because you're already doing it. But yeah, Boo Buddy's kind of fun, but it does take a bit of patience, and it's not good for someone that has a short attention span that wants to interact with it and is alive. So anyways, all right, flashlights. Flashlights are always fun. I did hear on the internet, though, that people are debunking flashlights being able to work. I don't know how. I have not had time to watch those videos, but if you guys have more information on how the use of flashlights in ghost investigations has been debunked, please send me like a link in the, like, I don't know, email me a link maybe, because if you put it in YouTube on the PsycKicks Extras YouTube channel, they'll just like hide the comment or whatever because they think links and comments are spammy. Or just let me know, like write the name of a video title in the comments below and I'll try and check it out. But anyways, aside from that, I just want people to know that I'm aware that there's an idea out there. I just don't know what it is because I haven't had time to look at it, that the flashlight stuff doesn't work. But if you're going to use a flashlight in a paranormal investigation, as far as I understand it currently, without looking at other things, you have to get like the turnstile ones. So people call like I think the brand name is a mag light, but it's the front part of the light it turns. So you turn the front part of the light just enough so that if you were to like, if something were to touch it or it were to move, it would turn on. But it's not on. Or you turn it on just enough so that if you turned it just a little bit, it would turn off. So it's having that in between. And if souls and spirits are like electromagnetic things, they should be able to manipulate that, given the fact that it's so close to it being on or off, to communicate with you. So flashlights, I think, are fun. Sometimes they work. Sometimes they don't because the flashlights are like too hard to turn. So I would say get one that's very touchy, one that's very, very, I don't know, it works really well. Not one that you have to like turn really, really hard and it just doesn't always work because it's difficult to turn the top. But yeah, I think it's fun. We've used that in a couple different instances. What else? Cat balls. Cat balls are fun. Cat balls are kind of like using a flashlight. They are touch activated and they're actually not a ghost hunting equipment. It's just something that ghost hunters have figured out works. So it's similar to a flashlight. You touch them and then they blink the lights. So what happens is you're supposed to set them on the floor or a steady surface where they're not going to be rocked or moved, and there's less environmental stimuli that could move it. So like physical factors. And you ask the solar spirit a question and you're like, hey, could you turn on this cat ball and make it move for me or something, as an answer for yes or no? And then they'll flash it. And we had really good results with cat balls when we went to the Madison Seminary and we investigated upstairs the like psychiatric ward area. It was kind of cool. It was pretty, I don't know, cat balls are kind of fun. I like them because they don't make a lot of noises. Unlike, they have motion sensors, and Emily loves getting the scary motion sensors. They have ones that look like little like coffins and stuff like that, and they make terrifying things. So it's like a motion sensor, and then it has a like music box on it. So like an actual music box. So like the little thing that's metal and it has the little bumps that are up. And then when the handle turns, it plays a freaking really creepy ass song. She loves those ones. I hate them. I hate the creepy song. Why is it gotta be creepy? Why can't it play like Happy Birthday or like, I don't know, It's Raining Men? Why does it have to be a scary freaking song? But anyways, those are fun too, but they do freak me out. So if I would recommend getting a motion sensor that doesn't make you want to poop your pants with a scary song, but that's just me. You can also get the ones that are, I think they call them a polter tune if you're getting the like ghost hunting brand ones, but polter tunes freak me out. Do not like it. Had a bad experience with one when we went to the Twin City Opera House. There was a negative entity that was making it spin way too freaking fast, and I was about to poop your pants, guys. So absolutely scary. But they're triggered by motion, and when everything's dark and there's nothing in a house with you, and you put it on the floor and there's nothing that it should make it turn off, that's a pretty good indicator that there is a soul that's triggering it. So super spoopy. I would recommend getting one that is not scary. Now you also have REM pods and EMF readers. REM pods are interesting. You can have an EMF reader too. So EMF reader is just electromagnetic frequency, and that is what the parapsychology section of science, pseudoscience, whatever you want to call it, says ghosts or souls are made of. So if you have an EMF reader, it should spike if there is a soul around. That is the premise around it. However, you could also get a REM pod, and I believe the REM pod has EMF capabilities where there's certain things. It'll have like EMF. It'll also have like the proximity of something to the antenna on it. So if you put your hand really close to it, it'll start like beeping really, really fast. So if you know something is close to it to set off that detector, then you know that, and obviously nothing's there because it's just sitting on the floor. Then you'd be like, oh, there's something weird happening here, possibly paranormal, teehee. But it also will detect like heat or cool changes too. So if the temperature in the room drops, the REM pod will also signal to you with a different color on the top of it to be like, oh, hey, something's really close to it. Oh, hey, the temperature in this room dropped. Or, oh, hey, there's an EMF reading going off, or like it's spiking. So the REM pod is really good because it gives you a lot of different understandings or like different readings. Instead of just having one thing for each, you could have the REM pod, which kind of covers an all-encompassing sort of array of details, I guess. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about with paranormal equipment, I had a video that I made in a 3-part series because the original video was really, really long, to Garrett Watts, where he stayed at the Perkins house in Colfax, Washington. And in his video, he got little tiny, he called them light bombs. So just like little tiny lights that when you pull out the tab, they stay on. And he put them in balloons and just blew up the balloons with his own hot air, I guess. And was like, hey, spirits, I know it's hard for you to move things, but this balloon's pretty light. Could you move it for me to let me know that you're here? And they got pretty good results. Like, there was a little girl on the staircase and a little boy that were moving the balloon where they put it on the landing, in my mediumship opinion. And then in another room, a solar spirit knocked one of the balloons off of a rocking chair that was already angled backwards. So like it had the momentum to stay where it was, but it got knocked off the chair anyways. And I thought that was a pretty darn good idea as a ghost investigator to do that. The only thing that I feel like would be cool is instead of just putting the light bombs in them so that the light is on the whole time, I think it'd be cool to have like some sort of cat ball in the balloon. But I don't know if they make a balloon big enough to put a cat ball in it and still be light enough. Or perhaps they make a cat ball where like the sensor goes off, but it's smaller so you can fit it in a balloon. That is the only thing that I think would be even cooler to do, because then you would definitely know if the balloon is moving, because then the cat ball light will go off. And I don't know. I thought maybe that would be like a cool thing to add to it, but maybe I'm just overthinking. Now, the last things that we need to talk about with ghost investigation: snacks, bathroom check, matches, battery, personal flashlights, and being polite. So when you go on a ghost investigation, if you are going there overnight and you're like balls to the wall with your paranormal investigation team, you're going to make a video, a podcast, whatever, you're here to get evidence. You need snacks. You're going to get you're going to be so hungry. Like, okay, for example, Emily and I went to Nevada to do a collaboration with Patrick from the Haunted Side, which was fabulous. However, during that time, we went to Nevada to collab with Patrick, and we did like 3 different investigations in the middle of the winter. It was January. It was freezing in Nevada. Then after that, we went to another castle in Cleveland, Ohio, because we did like a tour in Ohio when we visited that state. We did, what was it called? Why do I always forget this one? It was a castle in Cleveland, and it really wasn't a castle. It was just an old Victorian like mansion. But we also that's when we did the Fairfield Infirmary, the Madison Seminary, stuff like that. But I was very pregnant in all of those videos, guys. When we went to Nevada, I was 2 months pregnant. The morning sickness, which if you don't know because you've never had a baby, is an all-day sickness for me. That's how I experienced morning sickness. It was just all-day sickness. You need snacks. Sometimes, like for me, when I was pregnant, I just needed something to eat at all points in time to just snack on something. And if I wasn't snacking on something, I was about to absolutely Ralph all over you, all over the shoes, all over everyone else. So it was very, very hard at one point when we were doing the investigation at the antique store in Nevada with Patrick. I was like, we need to get Taco Bell stat. And then when we went to the Victorian house in Cleveland, I at that point was like 4 months pregnant, 3 or 4 months pregnant, and I needed milk. I was craving milk, so I remember carrying around this big old like half-gallon jug of just cold milk while we were doing the investigation and just like keeping it in the room downstairs, but then just in between takes and trying to get like evidence and stuff like that, just like sipping on some cold milk. Guys, it was so hard doing those investigations. When we went to the Conjuring house, I was 5 months pregnant. 6 months pregnant. I was 6 months pregnant when we went to the Conjuring house. Having those snacks, Janelle was a savior. She was literally the queen of bringing snacks. And I don't think I would have been able to get through that investigation 6 months pregnant without like eating some nerd ropes. And I think we had, what was it? Gummy snacks, like the fruit snacks. It was Welch's fruit snacks. That's what it was. Welch's fruit snacks and a couple like, I think she had Cheez-Its then, not Wheat Thins, but Cheez-Its. And that's what I was getting, like just like eating those to like be okay and not want to throw up while we were investigating at like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, 5 a.m. It was crazy. So have snacks. You need snacks. You have to have something to drink, something to eat, something to stay hydrated, because it will help you keep sane and focused when it's like scary and cold or like hot. Maybe you're investigating in the summertime. We've always investigated in the winter, so it's been extremely cold. So next thing, bathroom check. Always figure out where the bathroom is, if you can use it, if it's cold enough. Have a buddy system too. Because when you're in those bigger places, like the Fairfield Infirmary, it's usually all the way back at wherever your base is. And if you're all the way at one side of like a sanitarium, you might want someone to walk back with you. And you might want someone to just like have your six while you're trying to go potty. Because, that's it. In the Conjuring house, gosh, there is the soul of some guy. I call him the peeping Tom, and he peeps in the bathroom when you're using it. And the bathroom at the Conjuring house is very nice. It's warm in there. It's cozy. It's not like damp or dank or like the walls aren't peeling and things like that. But there's this dude, and he just like looks over the top of the shower at you while you're trying to go potty. Absolutely not. Not okay. Super not cool. And sometimes when you're walking in the bathroom, you just feel like someone's walking in behind you. So Anthony was always my buddy when we went on paranormal investigations. I'm like, if I have to go potty, will you come with me? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'll stand outside the door. So he was usually the person that would do that with me, because it's just, you never know what's going to happen when you're just trying to pee. Especially like when we went to the Conjuring house with Amanda. That was interesting. I had to use the bathroom more because my mom had Oak at the hotel, and I am nursing my son, so I would have to like pump. Otherwise, I would feel really, really full, and I just couldn't not pump milk, even though my son wasn't there, because it was extremely uncomfortable, and we were investigating for a long time. So, if you have things like that, come prepared for things. Have a buddy system. Make sure someone's with you. Next thing. Matches. Yeah, I'm not saying to bring matches because you're not supposed to smoke. You're not supposed to vape when you're at places like this, because a lot of times they're historical things and you don't want to add more things to the environment that could harm the structure, the artifacts, whatever. But matches. When we went to the Wilson Castle, it was October. of 2022 because I had just gotten married. We literally went to the Wilson Castle 1 week after I got married. If you watch the video, you can see my nails are like really grown out from when I got married. They're like pretty, but I needed to just get rid of them because they were too long at that point. But in the Wilson Castle, their only heat supply is fireplaces. And in the back room where we had our base was the kitchen of the house. And in the kitchen, they had this big like enclosed like wood burning stove. And that's what we were using to keep warm. And the owners also had a fire going in the foyer of the house. So when you walk into the big grand room right across from the staircase, there's a fireplace. And that was what was heating the whole place for us. So the kitchen area was really easy to keep warm. But the rest of the house, that one little fire pit, I was like, I don't want the light to go out. It'll get even colder in here. And they left us with like one fire starter log if any of the fires like went out, but no matches, which is fine. I'm not saying that like they have to provide everything for us, but there wasn't even like one of the, what is it? Like the little like gas clicky fire starters. There was nothing. So I was like, if this flame goes out, we're stuck here in the middle of nowhere in Vermont with nothing, and it's going to be cold as all heck. So at one point, I remember we were filming and recording and trying to get results and talk to the souls and spirits and things like that and do a good job. But I was like, the fire's going to go out. The fire's going to go out. We're going to be freezing. We're all going to die. And Anthony and I actually had to go up to the gas station, but like in New England, everything closes really, really early. I don't understand why. It's just, if you live in New England, no offense, but y'all a bunch of old people. Everything closes so early. And we were trying to find a gas station or a convenience store that was open so that we could get matches or at least like a lighter so that we could light the other fire brick if we needed to, because the fire might go out. Because we were gone for like an hour at a time, you know, to try and get in investigation stuff, and no one was there to tend the fire. So we were trying to like figure it out. So after that, I always kept a little tiny box of matches in one of my bags when we went investigating in case we had to make sure to keep a fire started, because I did not want to have to deal with that again. And then the last two things are batteries and a personal flashlight. Always come with chargers if the place that you're investigating has a wall outlet and you can charge your batteries, because again, paranormal activity will drain your batteries. If there's a soul or a spirit there that needs energy to communicate with you, they are going to drain your batteries because they need energy. Or just bring a lot of batteries that are already charged, because you don't know if you'll have those outlets. And then personal flashlights, at least have two. My husband was really good. I always use his flashlights. He's a car mechanic, so he always has flashlights. And he got me one that's like super, super tiny. It's literally like the size of my thumb, but it will light up an entire room. And I kept that thing on me like it was like the Bible. I was like, this thing ain't leaving my side. This is my saving grace. If something happens, I'm going to take out this little tiny flashlight that I got in my pocket. I would like clip it to one of the belt loops on my jeans and be like, if anything happens to my big flashlight, it rolls away, I forget it, like the power drains, whatever, I got this little tiny one. So I would always keep that on me, and then I'd have my backup flashlight that was really, really large, and I would blind people with it all the time, unfortunately, on our team. If you go on an investigation with me, you should probably wear sunglasses, because I'm that asshole that flashes the lights in your eyes on accident a lot. And then the last thing that I want to say before we end today's podcast is be polite. Always. No matter who you think you're talking to, whether it be a human soul or an entity, be firm and accepting. Because at the end of the day, when you are going into a situation like that, there's a lot of times where people are like, what do you do for protection? You are always divinely loved and protected because you matter. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else that you have to do for protection. If you believe you are protected, you are. And if you have a wavering in that for whatever reason, then you're probably going to have some problems. But it is always important to remember you are divinely loved and protected because you matter. And if something is bothering you, whether it be a person or a thing, accept that they're there. Say, I acknowledge you. However, that is where this interaction ends. You exist and I exist. We can coexist and that's it. End of story. End of discussion. Nothing has to go past that. Don't egg on spirits. Don't think that you know everything about them. Listen to what they have to say and accept it. You don't always have to understand everything. It's not about you. It's just about being there and experiencing those things with them. So don't think that there's something that you have to do, that you have to save them. There's all of this stuff that's going on. Just be like, cool. Thank you for giving me this perspective. Thank you for enlightening me. I appreciate you for sharing this moment with me. Have a nice existence. Just don't be someone that pokes the bear, because it's just like if you were with someone else and you didn't speak the same language and you just kept saying something that they understood because you couldn't understand them, and you just keep saying something that's super, super, super like insulting, and they're like, stop saying that. That's rude. It's just that. Just be kind, be polite, be accepting, be firm. Those are the things that I would have to say. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Hopefully you do. If not, don't tell me because I'll cry. If you're interested in a reading, I have new reading availability in the evenings, and I've been opening up readings month by month. So like if it's June, I'll have availability for July. If it's July, then I'll open up availability for August. Because with the baby, I just don't know if he's going to get sick or if I'm going to get sick. And if I have to cancel readings for anything like that, if that should happen, then I don't want people waiting so long for readings. Because I was booking out like 4 or 5, 6 months in advance, but I don't want to do that anymore, because if I have to change a reading, I want you guys to be able to have a reading with me and not have to keep waiting if I have to reschedule something. So that's why I did that. But thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But until then, we are your meta PsycKicks. Peace.